Welcome back to 16 by 9, the bigger picture.
We can catch them, but can we cure them? Tonight, meet the men who believe they can reach even the most radical terrorists and who say they have the key to stopping the threat before it begins. In 2006, Canadians learned this country isn't immune to the wrath of terrorism, and the threat is far from over. 16 by 9 exclusively obtained this confidential report. It is stamped secret and meant only for officials from CSIS, the Criminal Intelligence Service of Canada. Inside the intelligence assessment, details of what Canada's spy agency considers one of this country's greatest threats. In black and white, it says, radicalization as it is seen within the phenomenon known as Islamist extremism is a priority issue for Canada.
It's one of the most disturbing issues that all of Western democracies face.
Vic Taves, Federal Minister of Public Safety, says the problem is no longer overseas, it's in our own backyards. And presently, Canada has no organized de-radicalization program in place, in or out of prison.
I think it's very difficult when it comes to attempting to change someone's core belief, especially individuals who are prepared to die for their beliefs.
No one knows that better than Mubin Sheikh, a man who was gripped by radicalization himself, but later became a police informant who infiltrated the Toronto 18, he says, easily.
Within a couple of hours, I was being invited to be the trainer at the camp. I have a very good understanding of how these people radicalize, the kinds of things they want to hear.
Now he says he can cure them of their radical views. Even though he is fiercely hated by the men he helped convict, he wants to counsel these terrorists in jail. He says if he doesn't, they'll come out more radical than when they went in.
Because when you're just left to fester, it's going to get worse. When nobody's helping you, when nobody's making you feel, like you're a part of something, it's going to get worse.
Mubin says he's contacted some of the terrorists he helped put behind bars and claims some of them have forgiven him.
They don't blame me. They are ready to work with me, I believe. In fact, they realize that I was trying to help them as much as I could.
Mubin says he can help because he has firsthand knowledge of the radicalization process. These videos he was instructed to watch were part of his training once he was accepted inside the extremist group.
I desensitized myself to beheadings. I watched hundreds of beheading videos. We had one guy who was at the camp who was a really good woodcutter, and the joke was that, hey, you see the way that guy cut wood? I mean, he'd make a great beheader.
What Mubin saw helped put the notorious plotters in jail. He was paid $300,000 by law enforcement, but he says he paid a very public price.
I was instantly ostracized. I was instantly the enemy to the Muslim community. I became very, very depressed and, self-loathing.
Then recently, he found out the government agency he worked for betrayed him too. WikiLeaks revealed that, incredibly, CSIS mistakenly released his name onto a U.S. terror watch list.
When your name appears in a list of convicted terrorists, I think it's a safe assumption to assume your life is screwed. My position is that it is a mistake.
CSIS had no response to our inquiries for a story and request for an interview.
Canada's more of a Muslim country than any Muslim country in the world. How do you like that?
This is Mohammed Robert Heft, a convert, who also believes he can convert the most radical Muslims. Heft grew up in Mississauga, Ontario, changing over from Christianity to Islam. And he admits that when he became a Muslim, he too was swallowed by radicalization, even going to Iraq and volunteering as a human shield.
I ended up staying inside of an electrical plant, and then all the transformers got blown out. I wasn't ashamed of going there. I mean, I still believe the war in Iraq is an unjust thing.
He returned to Canada and opened a shelter for Muslims in crisis, where 5 of the Toronto 18 stayed at one point. He says he was the first person to warn CSIS about them.
I was the one who put CSIS on the trail of the Toronto 18 3 months prior to Mubin becoming an agent.
Heff believes he has the experience and credibility to deprogram terrorists in prison.
The people who are in jail who are serving their time, they need to be talked to and counseled to by proper individuals who are going to help to change their ideas, so when they come out, they're not carrying the same ideas that they did prior to their incarceration.
Can that actually happen?
The problem is you have to gain their trust when you go there that you're not a plant from the government.
He takes that belief a long way. He says he's refused funding from CSIS. Instead, Heff solicits donations from the United Arab Emirates. He was recently given a $300,000 donation from His Royal Highness Sheikh Mohammed.
When they give me money, it's like Muslims supporting Muslims for something.
But the United Arab Emirates is the same country our Prime Minister called soft on terrorism.
They're decent people, and they're not for extremism. I look at it as my responsibility is those 1,800, 18,000, whatever they are, it's my responsibility to de-radicalize them.
And there's still one more person who feels he too is qualified to de-radicalize terrorists in jail. Shockingly, that's none other than the convicted terrorist we introduced you to, Sharif Abdelhalim.
What I suggested to the parole board is that I could talk to some of these youths myself. Let us think of ways where we can actually help. If blowing something up would help, then so be it. But over the last 200 years, terrorist organizations have never achieved their goals. All it does is antagonize and upset and irritate the system even more.
How do you stop terrorism?
If you want to cure the cancer, you have to cut out the part that's causing the cancer. And that's bad foreign policy. It is not the thirst for blood. Nobody wants blood. As you said, I was making a very healthy living. I was driving a baby blue BMW. Well, you think it's just because, oh, I'd like to kill someone today. You think that's it?